Amazon workers at this Alabama warehouse are holding a potentially historic union election. Here's how that process works. There are two legally recognized ways to form a union in the U.S. The simplest option is voluntary recognition, where the workers present a demand for recognition and the employer voluntarily agrees to recognize the union as their legal bargaining representative. This is the fastest and fairest option, but unfortunately, most U.S. employers opt to take the second route, forcing a union election. Once at least 30% of eligible workers in a workplace have signed union cards signaling their intent to form a union, they file a petition with the National Labor Relations Board. The NLRB is a government agency that enforces labor law and protects workers' collective bargaining rights. Former President Trump stacked it with anti-labor union busters. But the new administration has already made some big, worker-friendly changes by firing some of the worst offenders, like former General Counsel Peter Robb. The NLRB then conducts an election, and if a majority of yes votes are cast, they win their union, and their employer is legally required to begin bargaining the contract. The downside to forcing an election, instead of just voluntarily recognizing the union in the first place, is that it slows down the process and allows employers more time to push their own anti-union agenda. This is what's been happening at Amazon for months now.
They are coming and stopping us from working, doing our jobs to basically ram the information in our heads about why we shouldn't have a union.
If the union was so bad, why are they doing everything they can to keep it out of here?
Workers have reported feeling intimidated or pressured by anti-union managers. The company has been holding mandatory meetings that can last for hours and inundating workers' personal cell phones with anti-union text messages. Workers say there are even anti-union flyers hanging in the bathroom stalls. Another union-busting trick that companies like Amazon like to employ concerns the size of the bargaining unit. The original NLRB filing here included about 1,500 workers. Amazon has insisted on adding thousands more, many of them temporary or even former employees.
It was very much in Amazon's best interest to try to fill up and have as many employees working there as possible so that they could eventually try to stop the election from happening.
So what we did when we filed our petition was we filed with them thinking that we thought we only had 1,500. So then when we get to the hearing, come in there and they say, we have 5,700 employees. And we don't feel the union has the 30% that they're required to by law conduct an election. And we said, give us a few minutes.
You put out the cards.
Boom!
Amazon never expected thousands of their own employees to organize in such a quick amount of time.
It may seem counterintuitive to add more potential union members into the mix, but there is a reason why anti-union companies do this. Packing the bargaining unit with workers who may not necessarily be invested in the union, or may not even still work there, creates a higher threshold for the union to reach a majority. This means that the union will need to work even harder to get as many yes votes as possible, and every union card counts. But now that the election is off and running, Amazon has had to cease its union-busting efforts thanks to the NLRB's 24-hour rule, which bars employers from interfering with a union campaign within 24 hours of the election's start.
This is a story about David and Goliath. Right now I'm being David, and I'm fighting Goliath, and we all know how that story ended.
Amazon workers can vote by mail in this historic election until March 29th, and we'll be here on the ground to keep you updated.